Hello, and welcome to Auto Be Careful, the place for car safety news and information. I'm Gene, and today we're going to talk about child car seats and some upcoming changes that are going to make them even safer. Let's start with a bit of history. The first child car seat was made in 1933 and had one goal in mind: raising the height of the seat. This would let children see out of the windows and allow parents to more easily see their children. It wasn't until 1962 that the first safety focused child car seat was manufactured. This seat, called the G-Nay, was the first one designed to be specifically used in the second row and the first one to use a 3-point restraint system to hold children securely. A few years later, this seat was updated to a 5-point restraint system, which is still the standard used to this day. The 1960s also brought about some other innovations like rear facing child car seats, which help spread the forces of a front end collision across a child's body, much like an astronaut does during a rocket launch by lying down. It wasn't until the 1970s that regulators stepped in to create child seat standards, and even then there were some pretty big blind spots. 1971 was the year that NHTSA created its inaugural child safety seat standards. These standards focused on ensuring the seats were properly installed in vehicles. It wasn't until 1981 that they began to require child safety seats to undergo crash testing at 30 miles an hour, which, believe it or not, is still the same crash test speed that's used today. There were several other innovations over the next few years, including locking seat belts and updates to airbag requirements. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the ISOFIX and latch systems were created, which would allow child safety seats to connect directly to the vehicle without relying on the seatbelt. Let's talk a little bit more about crash testing for child safety seats. It may surprise you to learn that these systems aren't actually tested in cars, instead, using a sled system to simulate a crash. This makes a lot of sense since the vehicle safety systems can affect how the seat performs, so instead of introducing a lot of uncontrollable variables, every seat is tested using the same standard equipment. The current required standard specifies the maximum rotation allowed during a crash test for rear facing seats, and the maximum forces allowed to different areas of a child's body for front facing car seats. It also specifies several other things, including the amount of pressure required to unlatch the safety restraints, states that the crash test dummy must remain fastened in the car seat with the fasteners intact, and also requires proper labeling of the car seat to make it clear what the car seat's limits are. So, what's changing in child car seat regulations? The most notable update is that car seats sold after the regulations go into effect now have to pass a side impact crash test in addition to the front impact crash test they were already using. While they're not as common, side impact crashes are a big concern because, unlike the front and rear of a vehicle, the sides of a vehicle don't have as much room for the crumple zone to compress before the occupant compartment is compromised. Unfortunately, it took a significant amount of time to gather the data needed to update this regulation. Part of the delay in updating this rule was due to the time it took to develop and refine a side impact crash test for car seats. Similar to the front impact crash test, the side impact crash test uses a sled traveling at 30 miles an hour to simulate the crash. Another piece that's changing is the weight limit guidance for car seats. The upper limit for some car seats is going down a bit, and the minimum weight required for others is going up a bit. There are some changes to height requirements as well. These changes are due in part to the updated crash test dummy for the side impact crash test. The side impact crash test required the development of a new crash test dummy, and the updated size of this dummy is what's forcing some of these limit changes. So, how will you know if your car seat meets these new standards? If your car seat was purchased after these rules go into effect, it's required to comply with the new regulations. Manufacturers have already been working to get their car seats in compliance ahead of this date, especially since the rules were finalized in 2022, so they've had plenty of advance notice. Unfortunately, some of the smaller manufacturers are having trouble meeting the original deadline of June 30th, 2025, so it's been delayed to December 5th, 2025. This puts customers in a bit of a gray area because a new car seat purchased today may comply with the new regulations or it may only comply with the existing ones. Allegedly, if a car seat meets the new standards, it's supposed to have a label on the seat indicating this, similar to the labels that exist on car seats today. If an advertisement or label isn't clear, buyers may need to contact the manufacturer prior to purchasing in order to ensure that they're getting the updated equipment. The final question is, do you need to replace your existing car seat? That depends. In some cases, there were no design changes needed to a car seat in order to comply with the new regulations, so the only changes that were made were to the label, which indicate the height and weight limits. You'll need to contact the manufacturer to be sure, but your car seat may already have this side impact protection. If your car seat already complies with the new regulations, you won't get any safety benefit from upgrading to a new version of the same seat unless your current seat is expired, has been recalled, or has another issue. If your car seat only complies with the current regulations, it's still extremely safe, so you don't need to replace it unless you want to or need to for another reason. When you're ready to do so, keep this upcoming change in mind while you shop around. So that's a look at car seats and some of the upcoming regulation changes that are going to make them safer than ever before. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and remember to like and subscribe.